Welcome to the Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report on the Rural Radio Network. The Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report brought to you by Moline Seed and Fence. They're proud sponsors of the Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report. Moline Seed and Fence is your local dealer for Riviera custom gates, goat and sheep pens, along with Mountain View sheep and goat equipment. Check out all their products at MolineSeedandFence.com. That's MolineSeedandFence.com. Farmers as well, if you've got livestock but you're ready to get into the fields and planting, they can also take care of you on the seed side. Check it all out, MolineSeedandFence.com. For the week ending April 22nd, the Midwest Sheep and Goat Market mixed overall for the most part. Wool lamb saw a drop, $15 to $25 a hundredweight. Few sales that saw another week of strong demand for those midweight slaughter lambs. The heavies, though, for the most part, all dropping. Slaughter goat market steady, with a few sales seeing about a $15 to a $20 bump. And in Kelowna, Iowa, we are back above $500 a hundredweight or $5 a pound. Great to see that. Coal livestock steady in most cases, maybe a little bit lighter on the hair lambs, hair ewes and bucks this week, but again, we'll just kind of call coal stock steady depending on that condition. Now on the slaughter goats, on the does, especially those big, heavy, fleshy does, they seem to see a nice little uptick this week. Continued strength in the midweight slaughter market may be contributing to due to Ramadan month of fasting. That holiday still going on. It will conclude on May 1st. That's possible good news for those lighter weight lambs. The good news is, I should say, with those lighter weight lamb marketings, we're actually seeing that on the carcass weight, on the live weight, and the slaughter data. Hopefully we're keeping current enough on our lamb crop that we're not going to see that glut of those heavy old crop lambs hit us midsummer that really started to drag on that wool lamb market like it did last year. Doesn't mean it for sure won't happen, but I think this helps set us up for a little bit better of a more current marketing summer to kind of keep product moving. USDA data this week, I didn't have time to look at cold storage. We'll take a look at it next week. What I did have time to dive through this week, though, is import data. It's something we haven't really touched base on much, but USDA is also about 2 months behind when it comes to import data. So what I have is for January, February of 23. That's the data that's available. May 5th, we'll get out then the March data coming with that one as well. So for the first 2 months of 2023, the U.S. imported 34.1 million pounds of lamb, just shy of 20 million pounds in January, 15.2 million pounds in February, and compares to 37.4 million pounds in the first 2 months of 2022, where we imported 21.6 million pounds in January, 15.8 million pounds in February. So not a huge difference between the 2 years, but both 22 and 23 in the first 2 months of the year are actually down a few million pounds from 2019 and in line with 2020. So it looks like we hit that pandemic year and we dropped on imports. Of course, supply chains and things were disrupted in 2020. We know that. The good news is, though, we haven't quite built back up to the levels we saw in 18 and 19 going through this USDA data for the first 2 months of the year anyway. So as we look out as well, consumer preference, maybe they just want fresh U.S. lamb, and that's knocked on imports a little bit, but it's good to see, though, that we just haven't seen this big return to it, and that's helping out for sure on our domestic market as well. Now, on the live side of the import market, according to USDA data, we've imported a little over 4,500 head of live lambs, majority of those coming in from Mexico and Canada. We've imported 0 head of goats in 23. Of course, that's with some of the import laws, that's not surprising. Now, on the flip side of that, the U.S. has exported 9,043 head of live lambs in the first 2 months of 2023. Now, the majority of those lambs, about 95% of them, went into Canada. As we look, the U.S. also has exported 237 head of live goats. They mainly went to the Philippines and Jamaica. Now, as we look over onto the highlighted quotes of the market this week, again, Kelowna is where we'll start. They sold 109 head of 84-pound slaughter wool lambs for $258 a hundredweight. That's $217 a head. The upper end of the draft bringing $285 a hundredweight or $239 a head. Kelowna also sold 18 head of 48-pound slaughter goats, $506 a hundredweight, $243 a head average. Upper end of the draft sold $531 a hundredweight or $255 a head. Colby Livestock sold 51 head of 59-pound slaughter goats for $387.75. That's $228 a head. Colby also sold 6 head of 80-pound hair lambs for $244 a hundredweight or $195 a head. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock sold 37 head of 51-pound wool lambs for $275 a hundredweight or $140 a head. Upper end of the draft bringing $280 a hundredweight or $140 $143 a head. Producers livestock in Texas sold 544 head of 56-pound hair lambs for $246 a hundredweight or $138 a head average. Upper end of the draft brought $268 a hundredweight or $150 a head. Producers also sold 34 head of 74-pound slaughter goats for $344 a hundredweight or $255 a head average. Upper end of the draft brought $360 a hundredweight or $266 a head. Had some time to look over the grain markets this week. Negative for the most part, and analysts pointing towards money flow having a larger impact than versus the supply-demand fundamentals of the market. Soybeans continue to watch a record crop come out of the field to the port in Brazil. However, it appears the increase in Brazilian production likely only offsetting some of the disastrous losses we're seeing in Argentina crop production due to drought. Corn, meanwhile, is expecting a decent crop in Brazil, while Argentina continues to struggle with drought. In the U.S., early planting is a struggle in the northern plains with wet fields and cold temps. Meanwhile, the southern plains are struggling with continued drought. Heart of the Corn Belt, though, Iowa, Illinois, a lot of good conditions looking like it's going to set up for planting there. So that kind of puts us a little bit on the edge for where we look at for U.S. production as well. As you look over at right now, it kind of appears maybe livestock feeders might get a chance to buy some cheaper grains. Of course, there could be some pressure here in the coming weeks as well, so it might be a chance to buy it a little cheaper a little later on. But we've got quite a few months before this new crop's going to be ready and in the bin. Realistically, we got out USDA WASDE last week. We've got tight supplies. We're operating on less than 200 million bushels of soybeans, and that actually, in fact, there was talk of some soybean crushers there, and I believe North Carolina actually importing some Brazilian beans because they can import them that cheap versus trying to truck beans out of the heartland of the U.S. And get them there on the East Coast. So again, it's going to be a little bit interesting to see. Definitely, there's some possibility of things maybe wanting to try and run up on us. Lamb slaughter this week, we saw it estimated 35,000 head through Saturday. That's an increase of 1,000 head from last week and a decrease of 5,000 head from last year. Year-to-date lamb slaughter now 571,000. We're running about 5% or 27,000 head more than last year's lamb slaughter. Good news here, live lamb weight's 124 pounds, a decrease of 3 pounds from last week and an increase of 2 pounds from last year. Dressed lamb weights were 62 pounds. That's a decrease of 2 pounds from last week and an increase of 1 pound from last year. For your breakdown on the regional prices, wool lambs 20 to 40 pounds, $200 to $270 a hundredweight, 40 to 70 pounds, $190 to $280 a hundredweight, 70 pounds and up, $150 to $285 a hundredweight. On the hair lambs, 20 to 40 pounds, $190 to $265 a hundredweight, 40 to 70 pounds, $184 to $268 a hundredweight, 70 pounds and up, $154 to $250 a hundredweight. Wool ewes on the stocker side, $200 to $250 a head on a very limited test and just a couple sales. Slaughter wool ewes, $35 to $142 $250 a hundredweight. Slaughter rams, $60 to $140, $150 a hundredweight. Hair ewes replacement quality, $175 to $225 a head. Slaughter ewes at $65 to $150 a head. Hair rams, $75 to $148 a hundredweight. On the kid goats, 20 to 40 pounds, $220 to $531 a hundredweight. 40 to 70 pounders, $230 to $468 a hundredweight. 70 pounds and up, $250 to $360 a hundredweight. On the wethers, 70 pounds and up, $205 to $283 a hundredweight. On the does, the slaughter does, medium to fleshy, $130 to $275 a head. Replacement quality does, $165 to $310 a head. Slaughter bucks, $200 to $315 a hundredweight. Not enough applicable tests to put together a breeding market on the bucks for the goats. And that is a look here at your Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report. As always, appreciate your listenership, and I look forward to talking with you next week. I'm Clay Patton here on the Rural Radio Network with your Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report.